There is a Haitian proverb. Don't insult the alligator until you've crossed the river. Sometimes it is simply impossible to determine whether you are lucky or unlucky. That time it was Saturday morning. I backed out of my driveway and was just heading to the Home Depot Megamall to buy some parts to fix the bath tube in our powder room when I realized I had a flat tire, and I only drove about 30 meters, no more. I had to get out of the car and return home to get a hydraulic jack. On my way to the kitchen, I heard Dora talking to someone on the phone. "Don't worry, there won't be any problems with him." My jingling keys falling onto the counter let her know I was back. In a hushed voice, hurriedly, "I have to go." I go into the kitchen and see her turn around, smiling, as if nothing had happened. "Hey, honey, you turned around quickly." "The tire is flat," I muttered. "Oh, that sucks. Do you need help with this?" "No need. I can handle it myself. It's time to figure out what it all meant." While I was changing the tires, I mulled over the introductions, deciding to remember everything Dora had done and said lately to see if I could spot any clues or warning signs. The first thing that struck me as strange happened the night before. When I returned home, Dora complained to me that the bathtub drain in our toilet was almost clogged again. It wasn't the best news, but why on earth did it even matter? Exactly at 6 o'clock in the evening. We live in an old house and use the bathtub as a shower. Okay, stop. This means that she took a shower before I arrived. Well, you don't have to read too many stories on these erotic sites to add 2 plus 2 and understand what it means. So, after changing the tires, I went upstairs to wash my hands. At the same time, I checked the laundry basket and found a wet bath towel left over from last night, and Dora's panties, still damp from hand washing. My name is Matt. I've been married to Dora for 4 years. We knew each other in high school, but weren't dating at the time. One day, after graduating from college, we saw each other again, and everything seemed to fall into place. We had an active and healthy sex life before we got married, and it hasn't slowed down much until recently. Come to think of it, the first warning sign was that our friends, Jim and Diane, were getting divorced. I was completely on Jim's side for all the crap he put Diana through during the divorce. For some reason, Dora could not understand how someone with such a gentle character as mine could support such cruel treatment of her cheating wife, in her opinion. I remembered how she cackled, justifying her friend Diana's behavior by saying, maybe it was just sex, and that this little mistake should not lead to such draconian measures. "Look at it this way, Dora," I told my wife. "Fidelity is the same as pregnancy. You're either pregnant or you're not. There's no gray area. There are only 2 numbers on the fidelity scale, either 100% or 0. Looking back, Dora's reaction back then spoke volumes to me now. We recently purchased this old fixer-upper. Under the term fixer-upper, American realtors understand properties that need renovation. These are private houses and apartments, the previous owners of which did not monitor their condition, neglected them, rented them out, and did not repair them on time. As a result, the property is not ready for new residents to move in. It must first be restored in order to increase its value. Until major improvements are made, this place won't sell to anyone unless someone else wants to spruce it up. In general, I am quite deft with tools. The only problem is finding enough time for all this. Now, in light of my latest discoveries, I didn't even want to use the bathroom. Instead, I just needed to clear my head and collect my thoughts. I went outside to do some yard work. My indignant mind was seething with anger, but I didn't know what else I needed to do to get more information. Dora also went out into the yard and, sitting down, was busy nearby, caring for her rose bushes. I had already started trimming the trees when I suddenly heard a high-pitched screech. Dora stumbled, trying to get up, and screamed in panic, "A snake! Yes, it is a snake!" I smiled. Dora was deathly afraid of snakes. As for me, I find snakes funny, living ropes with eyes and a forked tongue. As I got closer to its bushes, I saw a pencil-thin garter snake about 1 foot long on the ground. "Kill her! Kill her!" Dora squealed from a safe distance. I lied. I don't see anyone. Are you sure? Yes. Damn it. She was huge. Look carefully. While Dora was peeking out from behind the door, I picked up a foot-long twig from the ground and threw it in her direction. That's her? A deafening screech and the sound of the door slamming was all I heard. Dora locked all the doors leading into the house, so I had to apologize profusely for throwing a snake at her before I was allowed into our home. I need to lie down, she moaned. You know I hate snakes. It wasn't funny at all to throw it at me. As soon as Dora came upstairs, I turned on her cell phone and wrote down the phone numbers she had called recently. While I was at it, I checked her recent travel history on Google Maps to see what routes she had taken. Yesterday, for example, at 14:30, Dora visited the cafe bar Parakeet Lounge. Putting the puzzle together turned out to be not so difficult. There are too many calls to Jacob Sater, her work colleague, for this to be a mere coincidence. In our beautiful city, there were not so many people with such a remarkable surname. And one of them, I believe, is this fruit that lives about 4 miles from our house. Well, I decided to take a ride and look around the place. It turned out that the Parakeet Lounge is almost adjacent to the America Sleeps Motel. Bang! One killed, one more left. I carefully parked a few houses away from Jacob's house and began to watch him. There were a couple of children playing in the front yard, and a pretty lady would occasionally lean out the window and talk to them. I assumed that the man who soon left the house was Jacob. A minute later, he got into a car parked near the house and drove away. I emerged from my hiding place, folder in hand, and knocked on the front door. Yes. Can I help you with something? The pretty woman hostess's voice also turned out to be very nice. Yes, ma'am. I'm updating the census information. Are you Mrs. Sater? I inquired busily. Yes, it's me. Opening the folder, I made a note in my papers. Sorry, I don't have your name. You have 2 children, right? What age are they? My name is Julie. My children are 5 and 7 years old, she replied. Nodding and humming thoughtfully, I scribbled a little more. And you're still married to Jacob Sater? Yes, she answered easily. Julie then confirmed that Jacob was a manager at the same company where I knew Dora worked. Well, thank you. That's all I needed. Have a nice day, I smiled, closing my folder and leaving the Sather couple's house. Julie, like me until recently, was apparently completely unaware of what her asshole husband and my slut wife were doing. By this time next week, things will be very different. I turned down Dora's attempts at sex under various pretexts, and she didn't seem to pay much attention to my lack of interest. At the same time, I tried to maintain my usual daily routine as much as I could. To prepare my plan, I had to use a burner phone. I wanted to be completely sure that what I had, only suspected so far, actually happened. It would be more than embarrassing to burn the earth based on faulty assumptions. I took Friday off and followed Dora to her work. Prepared for a long wait, I spent the morning reading erotic stories about cheating wives on my phone. For some strange reason, BTB stories have become my favorite at the moment. Around 2:30 p.m., Dora went down to her car and drove out of the parking lot. Following her, I kept a decent distance, being almost sure that in the near future, the road would lead us both to the already familiar Parakeet Lounge. And indeed, having parked at the Parrot, Dora immediately headed towards the motel stairs. I parked my car so that I had a view of these stairs. A minute later, Jacob joined Dora, and the two of them went up to the second floor, where Jacob opened the room with the key. Now I saw everything I needed. I dialed my friend Alex's number, telling him I was heading his way, then started the engine and drove away. Returning home, Dora was quite surprised to find me there, lounging on the sofa watching TV. I had no doubt that she had just had sex and wanted to take a quick shower. Matt, what are you doing at home so early? She paused in the living room passage and asked, slightly worried. I had some urgent matters to attend to, so I took the afternoon off. As I see, you also freed yourself early? As if nothing had happened, I asked a counter question in an even voice. I wonder what she will come up with to justify herself. I spilled a drink on myself, so I decided to go home and take a shower. I'll be down soon, and let's go somewhere for steak. Wow, Dora showed impressive resourcefulness and quick thinking in an unexpected situation. Well, well, I, unlike her, could hardly restrain myself. While waiting for Dora, I managed to remove the regular doorknob from the bathroom door and replaced it with one that could only be opened from the bedroom side. The door opened from the bedroom into the bathroom, and now that Dora was inside, she would be stuck. In the bathroom itself, we did not have a window, only an extractor hood in the wall. The door, like all the other doors in the old house, was quite heavy and made of wood. After some time, I tiptoed up the stairs and heard the door to the bathroom click shut. I pulled the handle from the outside to make sure it was securely locked. A few seconds later, there was a hysterical scream. Dora banged on the door, but the knocking was not as loud as her panicked screams. I turned on the radio next to the bed and turned up the volume to drown out the screams. You see, I borrowed 2 very large yellow anaconda snakes from my herpetologist friend, Alex. Each of them was about 2.5 meters long and about the size of my arm. They were too big to fit under the door, so I put them in the tub and closed the curtain. Anacondas are not poisonous, but when they are very hungry, they can attack. Alex feeds them well, so they will become at least somewhat dangerous only in a few weeks. "Matt, let me out! Let me out, Matt! Please let me out!" The screams continued from the bathroom. "Maybe Jacob can help you. What's his number?" I approached the door and asked louder. "Oh, God, I'm sorry, Matt. It was just sex. I love you. Please let me out." And then a squeal and a new portion of heart-rending screams. Perhaps the snakes became a little closer and friendlier to Dora. Then I heard a terrible roar. "Matt, open the door!" "Darling, what are you talking about? These are just snakes," I said comfortingly from behind the door. "But be careful, they are attracted to human fluids such as urine, especially shit," I said in a slightly worried tone at the nonsense I had just made up. "Oh, you brute, you idiot, open the door!" And then more rumbling sounds. I think she threw everything that came to hand among the terrible rustling and hissing snakes. "Honey, try not to fall asleep there. Otherwise, at this time, they eat and multiply." I continued to utter complete nonsense. Sobbing came from inside. "Matt, open the door. Sorry, open this fucking door. Calm down, dear. Better turn off the light. Just in case," I added one more freshly invented fact. "They become aggressive in bright light. I'll come check on you in a few hours." Over the next few hours, amidst the hysterical sobbing, the rumbling sounds of something crashing were heard every now and then. Then suddenly there was a loud thud. Dora must have fallen off the toilet or sink, because after that her screeching voice changed radically, ringing with panic and ultrasonic horror. "Matt, help me! Help! A bitch! Get off me! Get away, you critter! Help!" "Dora, just try not to scare them," I managed to interject while she was drawing air for another scream. "Otherwise, in a panic, they will try to crawl into dark, warm, and damp holes." I blurted out another piece of nonsense. All the noise and clatter made it too disturbing to sleep in the bedroom, so I moved into the living room and had a great night's sleep on the sofa there. In the morning, after making a cup of coffee, I went up the stairs to find out what the forecast was for today. "How are you doing, dear?" I asked through the locked door and listened. The previous bedlam couldn't be heard, only some grumbling and whimpering came from inside. Probably the lack of proper sleep had an effect. I'll have to come back at lunchtime and check. I spent the morning checking email and looking at offers for new cars. Then Dora's friend appeared on the threshold, picking her up to go somewhere together. "Didn't she call you?" I was surprised. "Sorry that this happened. She didn't get enough sleep last night and generally doesn't feel well, and she behaves quite strangely. I'll tell her you came by." From time to time, I heard roars and screams. She must have been a little hungry by this time, too. "Have you finished taking a shower there yet?" I knocked on the bathroom door. "I'll leave for a while to enjoy a great juicy steak. Shall I bring something for you from there?" In a very weak voice. "Please open this damn door. Please, I don't have the strength to apologize anymore." "What do you want?" "Well, please open the door." Watch them carefully when they intertwine. This is a sign that they are excited. You better stay away from them if that happens, I warned her, as another idea came to mind. Open the door, damn it! A scream filled with angry suffering threw me away from the bathroom, followed by even more hysterical sobs and screams. Today I had a lot more things to do that were waiting for their turn. By the way, the lawn needs to be mowed. I walked energetically in front of the house as I went about this important and necessary process. Then I watched TV all day. After the golf tournament broadcast ended, I checked again to see how the celebration of love and unity with the world of fauna was going on. I knocked on the door, knocking Morse code on the wood. How are things going with you and your lovers, my dear? Ah, they are on me. Go away, you vile creatures. Bitch, get away, help me. Apparently, Dora dozed off after all, and her yellow lovers took their chance and clung to her, wrapping their temporary companion in their loving embrace. I'll leave you and your lovers alone. I'll be back in the morning, wishing you sweet dreams, dear. Matt, open this fucking door, now. What a bossy little critter. Well, I think I'll leave her in timeout for a little while longer. The crying and screaming continued at random times throughout the night. I slept again in the distance, on the now familiar sofa in the living room. With my steaming morning coffee in hand, I walked back up the stairs and put my ear close to the wood paneling. Not a sound was heard from inside. Maybe she managed to rest a little after all. I carefully opened the door. Dora lay passed out, pinned between the wall and the toilet. The bathroom was in chaos and complete destruction. I placed the 2 snakes in canvas bags that Alex provided. It only took a few minutes to reattach a regular doorknob. I then used my phone to take a video of a battered Dora sleeping cuddled with the toilet, documenting the damage she had done during her captivity. Finally, I called 911 and told them my wife was crazy. I prudently hid the canvas bags with anacondas in the trunk of my car. When the patrol car arrived, I told them how Dora first locked herself in the bathroom and then suddenly began to smash it. I didn't know if she was stoned or abusing drugs, but she was screaming something unintelligible and raving about the snakes around her. Yes, she acted completely paranoid, like she was crazy. Of course, I agree with you officers. She definitely needs some mental health care, and I'm willing to sign all the necessary paperwork to make sure my wife gets it. When they tried to move Dora, she started kicking and screaming, "Snakes! Go away from me!" and, wildly waving her arms, attacked the cops. It took the efforts of 2 large officers to subdue her. As they led the limp Dora outside, they informed me that they would be taking her to the hospital for further observation. Before they left, the cops took photos of the upside-down bathroom, checked the lock on the door, yanked the handle back and forth, and searched for snakes without success. On the way to the hospital, I stopped by Alex. Both snakes, in my opinion, were not hurt at all, and even seemed to be squirming quite contentedly after the adventures they had experienced. I promised to treat Alex to a big steak for dinner. I think that for my performance in the hospital, I deserved at least an Oscar in the supporting actor category. I couldn't have had more sympathy from the nurses and doctors. They assured me that my wife's case, although unusual, happened several times a year. I looked through the window inside the room and saw that the orderlies had securely immured Dora in a straitjacket. Anti-anxiety medications should help her regain peace of mind over time. The doctors convinced me to agree to keep her for observation for at least a week. I don't think this will look good on her resume. The report received a week later was not very encouraging for Dora. Every time someone or something near her moved, she would attack him and scream. The patient also continued to talk about how I locked her in a bathroom with snakes to punish her for cheating. Her betrayal? How? Did she cheat on me? Is she having an affair? I continued, to the best of my talent, to play my best role of the taken-by-surprise husband. Someone she works with named Jacob, they reported to me. Damn, I need to sit down. I'm not feeling very well. So you think it was because of guilt that she went off the rails? The brain is a very complex thing. It is difficult to say what caused her breakdown. They sympathetically handed me a glass of water. There were no snakes there, so what will happen to her now? I asked her to be an attending doctor. We have completed the necessary paperwork to keep your wife under observation for another 2 weeks, he replied. I called my lawyer and asked him to start divorce proceedings. He, in turn, contacted Dora and Jacob's employer and began working on a settlement agreement. Jacob is a manager at their company and Dora is not, so they shouldn't have mixed their bodily fluids in the most outrageous way. While Dora is being treated for a nervous disorder, she cannot be served with divorce papers. It doesn't matter. They will be waiting for her when the Esculapians finally release Dora. She will also have to find another job. I heard that Julie has also declared hunting season for Jacob's former employer. By the way, Jacob himself, as I learned the other day, also ended up in the same hospital for a short time. It turned out that he was bitten by a poisonous snake, which he found in his car. They had to amputate some of his extra fingers. I bought this poster and hung it in my office. A snake may shed its skin, but it is still a snake. Remember this before you let certain people into your life. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.